Hey everybody, welcome to Life is Brewtiful. I'm Anthony. Today we're going to be doing an episode of This Week in Beer. This is a segment on my channel where we talk about the biggest, hardest hitting news stories coming out of the world of beer and brewing over the past week. Now, unfortunately, due to circumstances out of my control, I was unable to put out a This Week in Beer last week. So there are one or two stories from that I would like to talk about this week because I do still think they are important, and this has been an unfortunate trend throughout 2021 already where I've had to keep doing catch-up stories, and hopefully I am past that point where this won't happen again. So sorry that it keeps happening, but hopefully it'll stop. The first story I would like to talk about is this new development between the ride-sharing, now conglomerate powerhouse near monopoly, Uber, and the beer delivery platform known as Drizzly. If you don't know, Drizzly is one of the most successful beer delivery programs in the entire United States. It offers beer to your doorstep in over 1,400 cities and has become, without a doubt, probably one of the most prolific beer distribution networks throughout the entire world, honestly. Uber has decided that they are actually going to purchase Drizzly for over $1.1 billion. Now, the interesting thing about this purchase is it seems that Uber actually used COVID to its advantage to be able to make this acquisition, because Uber Eats was huge throughout 2020 and on into 2021 through their delivery food program, because people didn't want to go out to restaurants. They didn't want to go out in public, so they were ordering a lot more to their house. So it seems that all that increase in delivery eat out resulted in this merger. Now, this will do a couple of different things, some good, some bad. For the good side, I do think it will increase the ability to have beer delivered to your house. If Drizzly and Uber do a complete full merger integrating all of their best assets, you could get your Uber Eats food, picking up some like Burger King or whatever you want, and someone deliver that to you, but also have like a 6-pack of cold IPA in the back seat ready to go with the meal. So I think this is incredibly cool, and I do think there are going to be some complications, like for Drizzly to be able to have their products be completely integrated in with Uber, especially the Uber Eats part. They're going to have to create like distribution hubs throughout everywhere for Uber drivers to be able to have everything ready to go on demand per order. I'm interested to see how that's going to continue to roll out and develop and actually function and be integrated, because Drizzly's previous platform took beers from all over and distributed them in places that would never have normally seen that. So for them to be able to offer that same level of distribution and widespread of offerings, they're going to have to kind of get innovative with Uber, creating this massive logistic nightmare that I'm assuming it is. But Uber has been pretty on top of their previous investments, so I think this has the potential to be very good. The downside to it is, because there's just not enough details and information out on this story yet, all of that could just be thrown out the window, and what it could turn into is just picking up your Uber Eats and then picking up local stuff, which I still think is cool, and I still think is a good step forward for eradicating some of the nations, and particularly in some states, archaic blue laws and 3-tiered nightmare systems that would otherwise prevent something like that happening. I think that would take a lot away from the whole Drizzly experience, which was where you could just get something new and fantastic and interesting from somewhere that you would have never been able to get it from anyway. So I'm really hoping that they don't back down on that. All in all, I do think it is a good move for the world of beer. Now, there's a couple of real quick stories that I want to talk about, nothing too in-depth, just little interesting fun tidbits. Pliny the Younger sold out in under 2 minutes. Thousands and thousands of bottles just released out instantly through online sales. And a lot of people were blaming bots. A lot of people were blaming scalpers and stuff like that, which could potentially all be true. But what I think is interesting about this story is that Pliny the Younger, which was one of the most prolific and most hype beers of all time years ago, this to me still proves that it still is swinging for the fences. And some of those legacy whales that people have kind of started overlooking now, they can still bring a mighty draw. So I just think that's real interesting little insight into the industry, that something that could be looked as outdated or old-fashioned now, which is crazy since it was only just a couple years ago, but the industry moves fast. It's just kind of cool to see them still just knocking it out of the park. So good job playing it younger, good job Russian River. Now, trending towards the worst, we had an explosion at the Victory Brewing Tap House in Pennsylvania. Luckily, it was later in the night. Nobody was harmed, nobody was killed, thankfully, but just kind of bonkers that something like that could just happen. You know, it's kind of scary that a building just exploded. But like I said, nobody was hurt, nobody injured, so I guess it was the best it could be. And the last real quick tidbit, researchers have finally officially proven that beer could potentially be good for your mental health. I use that term loosely, and that statement itself could potentially be dangerous, but researchers have found that just a single sip of beer releases insane amounts of dopamine in your body, resulting in a potential feeling of like feeling lighter, alleviation type feeling without enough alcohol to actually cause intoxication. So you could actually get intoxicated by your own brain feel-good juice instead of the actual ABV of your beer. Sometimes after a long, hard, stressful couple of days, just the first sip of the beer is the best part. I feel that chill, that cold sensation wash through my body, and I feel better. It is a potential good stress reliever, and it's kind of cool to see science has officially proven it. The flip side of that is, like I said, it could be a potentially dangerous statement, so be careful and, don't rely on that dopamine hit as a crutch, or else it could spiral into really, really poor mental health. So, interesting nonetheless. Now, the last story I wanted to talk about is real heavy and it's really intense. And, I don't usually do trigger warnings, but I mean, this one seemed pretty bad. So if you are worried or concerned or don't want to hear talk about sexual harassment, things of that nature, especially in the workplace, maybe skip it. So last week, a user on Reddit released a long statement in R the Brewery, which is a subreddit dedicated for people within the industry or people interested in learning about the industry to get together and kind of talk about what's going on and new developments and trends within the industry. And she posted a rather lengthy statement with several pretty terrible stories revolving around the absolutely toxic work environment that's happening at Boulevard Brewing Company, where they're talking about management blatantly commenting on the appearance and the sexual activities and viability or potential likelihood of becoming pregnant in order to persecute them and possibly push them out of their jobs. In the comment section, there were so many other former employees or people who went to work functions or event get-togethers, and they all shared similar stories. It seemed that it was a small group of people within leadership positions and management who were just kind of running this place in the most toxic of ways. And it's really disheartening because Boulevard is a well-beloved brewery, and it sucks that people were pushed completely out of the industry who had promising futures working at Boulevard. All of that came crashing down because they didn't want to have to deal with or be around these people creating this toxic atmosphere. And according to these people's stories, when they stepped forward to talk to other management positions, they were either dusted off or, told to calm down, it's not that big of a deal. And when they went to HR, they were pretty much given the same treatment. And it even seemed that they were like, well, you kind of should have known what to expect working here. Now, in the wake of this, Boulevard actually fired one of their executives and promised vows of change and better work policy and whatever. Anytime something like that happens from a big company, whether it's a brewery or not, it's usually just fluff bullshit to get people to calm down and quiet out. And one of the things that you can kind of look at is, I read through the article, they did not talk about firing the people in those management positions who were in supervisory roles who were either allowing this to happen or like doing it themselves, especially the HR people. I mean, I know HR's job is to take care of the business, but they are the human resource element. They should be a resource tool for people undergoing this type of thing. And I know people will always be like, oh, they're for the business, they're for the business. Sometimes the best thing for the business is to stop that and fire the people regardless of their position or authority within the company and side with the people who are being victimized. That would have solved everything. But I mean, when you're working in such a toxic environment, it's hard for that like HR individual to not side with them because they've most likely been corrupted or fear for their own job. So I mean, it's a convoluted mess, and I just want you to remember, yeah, they might have fired an executive, but they did not actually purge the people who were committing a lot of this. Anyways, these were the hard-hitting stories coming out of last week and this week. Again, sorry that I keep missing weeks. It's just been a bit chaotic over here in my life. So I will try to do better in the future, but bear with me. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I hope you learned something. Please let me know what your thoughts are on some of these crazy stories. The explosion one still has me perplexed, but I'm especially interested in knowing what are your thoughts about the Uber and the Drizzly merger, because I think it could either spell disaster for the industry or it could be one of the best things for it to ever happen. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. Remember, there's a story in every bottle and that life is beautiful. Cheers, y'all.